Necronomicon, the lurking fear. 1. The shadow on the chimney. There was thunder in the air on the night I went to the deserted mansion atop Tempest Mountain to find the lurking fear. I was not alone, for foolhardiness was not then mixed with that love of the grotesque and the terrible which has made my career a series of quests for strange horrors in literature and in life. With me were two faithful and muscular men for whom I had sent, when the time came, men long associated with me on ghastly explorations because of their peculiar fitness. We had started quietly from the village because of reporters who still lingered about after the eldritch panic of a month before the nightmare creeping death. Later, I thought, they might aid me, but I did not want them then. Would to God I had to let them share the search, for that might not have had to bear the secret alone so long, to bear it alone, for the fear of the world would call me mad, or go mad itself at the demon implications of the thing. Now that I am telling it anyway, lest the brooding make me a maniac. I wish I had never concealed it. For I, and I only, know the manner of fear lurks on that spectral and desolate mountain. In a small motor car we covered the miles of the primeval forest and hill until the wooded accent checked it. The country bore an aspect more than usually sinister as we view it by night and without accustomed crowds of investigators, so that we were often tempted to use the Acetylene headlight despite the attention it might attract. It was not a wholesome landscape after dark, and I believe I would have noticed its morbidity, even had I been ignorant of the terror that stalked there. Wild creatures there were none. They lies when death leers close. The ancient lightning-starred trees seemed unnaturally large and twisted, with other vegetation unnaturally thick and furbish, while curious mounds and hummocks and the weedy fulgurate pits of earth reminded me of snakes and dead men's skulls, swelled to gigantic proportions. Fear had lurked on Tempest Mountain for more than a century. This was I learned at once from the newspaper accounts of the catastrophe which first brought the region to the world's notice. The place is a remote, lonely elevation in the part of the Catskills where Dutch civilization once feebly and transiently penetrated, leaving behind, as it proceeded, only a few ruined mansions and a degenerate squatter population inhabiting pitiful hamlets on isolated slopes. Normal beings seldom visited the locality till the state police were formed, and even now only infrequent troopers patrol it. The fear, however, is an odd tradition throughout the neighboring villages, since it is a prime topic in the simple discourse of the poor mongrels who sometimes leave their valleys to trade and woven baskets for such primitive necessities as they cannot shoot, raise, or make. The lurking fear dwelt in the shunned deserted Martin's mansion, which crowned the high but gradual eminence whose liability to frequent thunderstorms gave it the name Tempest Mountain. For over 100 years the antique grove circled the stone house had been subject to stories incredibly wild and monstrously hideous, stories of silent, colossal, creeping death, which stalked abroad in summer with whimpering insistence. The squatters told tales of a demon which seized the lone wayfarers after dark, either carrying them off or leaving them in the frightful state of gnawed dismemberments. While sometimes they whispered of blood trails towards the distant mansion, some said the thunder called the lurking fear out of its habitation, while others said the thunder was its voice. Now one outside the backwoods had believed these varying conflicting stories, with their incoherent, extravagant descriptions of the half-glimpsed fiend. He is not a farmer or a villager doubted that the Martin's mansion was foolishly haunted. Local history forbade such a doubt, although no ghostly evidence was ever found by the such investigators as had visited the building after. Some especially vivid tale of squatters' grandmothers told strange myths of the Martin's spectre, myths concerning the Martin's family itself, its queer hereditary dissimilarity of eyes, its long unnatural annals, and the murder which had cursed it. The terror which brought me to the scene was a sudden and spontaneous confirmation of the mountaineers' wildest legends. One summer night, after a thunderstorm of unprecedented violence, the countryside was aroused by a squatter stampede which no mere delusion could create, but pitiful throngs of natives shrieked in line with unnameable horror which had descended upon them. They were not doubted. They had not seen it, but had heard it. Such cries from one of the hamlets that they knew creeping death had come, and the mourning citizens, state troopers, followed the shuddering mountaineers to the place where they said that death had come. Death is indeed lightning stroke, destroying several of Matador's shanties, but upon this property damage was superimposed an organic devastation which paled its insignificance of a possible 75 natives who had inhabited the spot. Not one living specimen was visible. The disordered earth was covered with blood and human debris, bespeaking too vividly the ravages of a demon, teeth and talons, yet no visible trail led away from the carnage, that some hideous animal might be the cause. Everyone quickly agreed, nor did any tongue now revive the charge that such cryptic deaths formed merely disordered murders common in decadent communities. That charge was revived only when about 25 of the estimated population were found missing from the dead, and even then it was hard to explain the murder of 50 by half that number, but the fact remained that on a summer night the bulk had come out of the heavens and met the dead village whose corpses were horribly mangled, chewed, and clawed. The excited countryside immediately connected the horror with the haunted Martin's mansion. Though the localities were over 3 miles apart, the troopers were more skeptical, including the mansion only casually in their investigations and dropping altogether when they found it thoroughly deserted. Country and village people, however, found the place with infinite terror, overturning everything in the house, sounding ponds and brooks, beating down bushes and ransacking the nearby forests. All was in vain. The death that had come had left no trace save destruction itself. By the second day of the search, the affair was boldly treated by the newspapers, whose reporters overran Tempest Mountain. They described it as in much detail with many interviews that elucidate the horror's history as consignere in horrors, that after a week I detected an atmosphere which stirred me oddly, so that on August 5th, 1921, I registered among the reporters who crowded the hotel at Lefter's Corners, nearest village to Tempest Mountain, and acknowledged headquarters of researchers. 3 weeks more, and the dispersal of the reporters left me free to begin a terrible exploration based on the minute inquiries and surveying with which I had meanwhile busied myself. So the summer night, while distance under rumbled, I left the silent motor car and tramped with 2 armed companions up the last mound-covered reaches of Tempest Mountain, casting the beams of the electric torch on the spectral gray walls that began to appear through giant hoops ahead. In this morbid night, solitude and feeble shifting illumination, the vast box-like pile displayed obscure hints of terror which day could not uncover. Yet I did not hesitate, since I had come with fierce resolutions to test an idea. I believed the thunder called the death demon out of some fearsome secret place, and be that demon solid entity of vaporous pestilence, I meant to see it. I had thoroughly searched the room before, hence knew my plan well. Choosing as a seat of my vigil the ballroom of Jan Martens, who murdered looms so great in the rural legends, I felt subtly that the apartment of this ancient victim was the best for my purposes. The chamber, measuring about 20 feet square, contained, like the other room, such rubbish which had once been furniture. It lay on the second story on the southeast corner of the house and had an immense east window, a narrow south window, both devoid of panes or shutters. Opposite the large window was an enormous Dutch fireplace with scriptural tiles representing the prodigal son, and opposite to the narrow window was a spacious bed built into the wall. As the tree muffled thunder grew louder, I arranged my plans details. First I fastened side by side to the ledge of the large window 3 rope ladders, which I had brought with me. I knew they reached a suitable spot in the grass outside, for I had tested them. The 3 of us dragged from another room a wide 4-poster bedstead, crowding it laterally against the window, having screened it with fur logs. We all now rested on the odd-drawn automatics, 2 relaxing with the third watch. From whatever direction the demon might come, our potential escape was provided. It came from within the house, and we had window ladders from outside the door on the stairs, and we did not think, judging from precedent, that it would pursue us far, even at worst. I watched from midnight to 1 o'clock, when in spite of the sinister house and protected window and approaching thunder and lightning, I felt singularly drowsy. I was between my 2 companions, George Bennett leaning towards the window and William Toby towards the fireplace. Bennett was asleep, having apparently felt the same anomalous drowsiness which affected me, so I designated Toby for the next watch. Although he was nodding, it was curious how intently I had been watching the fireplace. The increasing thunder must have affected my dreams, for in the brief time I slept there came to me apocalyptic visions. Once I hardly awake, probably because the sleeper towards the window had restlessly flung an arm across my chest. I was not sufficiently awake to see whether Toby was attending to his duties as a sentinel. I felt a distinct anxiety on that score. Never before had the presence of evil so poignantly oppressed me. Later I must have dropped asleep again, for it was out of the phantasmal chaos that in my mind leaped when the night grew hideous with shrieks beyond anything in my former experience or imagination, and that shrieking the inmost soul of human fear and agony clawed hopelessly and insanely out of the heavenly gates of oblivion. I awoke to red madness and the mockery of diabolism. As farther and farther down the inconceivable vistas, that phobic and crystalline anguish retreated and reverberated. There was no light, but I knew from the empty space at my right that Toby was gone. God alone knew whither. Across my chest still lay the heavy arm of the sleeper at my left. Then came the devastating stroke of lightning, which shook the whole mountain, lit the darkest crypts of the horror grove, and splintered the patriarch of the twisted trees and the demon of the flash of the monstrous fireball. The sleeper started up suddenly, while the glare from beyond the window through the shadow strayed. That I am still alive and sane is a marvel I cannot fathom. I cannot fathom if for the shadow of that chimney was not that of the George Bennett or of any other human creature, but a blasphemous abnormality from hell's nethermost craters, a nameless, shapeless abomination which no mind could wholly grasp, no pen could even partly describe. In another second I was alone in the cursed mansion, shivering and gibbering. George Bennett and William Toby had left no trace, not even a struggle. They were never heard of again.